wants the existence of the Nigerian state in perpetuity, right? So the government wants Nigeria to exist, and they do not want that situation to happen, right? It's not our fault that like we have to. It's not mandatory that we have to defend like the secessionist rhetoric that all brings to the debate. On our side, we want integration to happen. So the comparative in this debate is what side best ensures that the Nigerian state and the Nigerian entity exists for long, because that is the consensus that we have on this side. They want Nigeria to exist, right? So the problem with arguments that we get from closing government is that the argument can be used in all instances to criticize state within itself. These guys say a homogeneous society is a society where people can easily unite at all times, right? But the point is that the reason why we live in a state is because we understand the differences that we have as people, right? We agree that a homogeneous state might be a state that is comparatively better, but we say heterogeneous states are necessary if the identity of the state ought to be preserved, right? When you erode the national identity, then it's problematic when you want to say different ethnic groups can have their own different identities. The point is that heterogeneous states are necessary, right? If at all times want to say we want to favor homogeneity, then there will be no country in anywhere in the world, because in every single area of the world there are differences that exist among people, right? And ultimately, the most pernicious tensions exist in states when ethnic identity becomes state identity, right? That is because people within particular ethnic groups feel left out. We think that is the problem that can be solved under our own world, where we want to integrate people in the best possible way. The case of closing government is mostly about state autonomy. The problem is that state autonomy, this debate is not mainly about state autonomy, but about ethnic groups particularly. If the debate is about state autonomy, then the reality is that not all ethnic groups in a particular region can unite in the same way, right? So ultimately, states exist within ethnic groups, but ultimately, the ethnic autonomy that this debate is supposed to be about is about where all those ethnic groups can come as one. But in their world, they want those ethnic groups to exist in terms of like their own states, and we think that is not exactly what this debate should be about. On compulsion, we have opening government telling us that compulsion is justified when people are in danger. Closing government telling us about how compulsion should exist for national good. But we say in terms of danger, right? We say it is not the case that people are in danger. People only become in danger in their world where differences are entrenched. Currently, we can have Nigerians living in different parts of the country. We can have Igbo people living in the north, and we can have Northerners living in the south. The point is that when you come and say and entrench the differences, right? You say that Igbos do not belong in the north and Northerners do not belong in the south. That is where people actually are now going to be in danger, and that is where the true problem is going to occur. We say if these guys are talking about national good, we achieve that national good more on our side of the house than on their side opening.
So as PNI says, a nation cannot succeed when half keep chicken away. The alternative is free-floating integration, which has failed in the Nigerian state, and that's the law of both ethnic groups to direct the development.
See, I'll be explaining to you why. Charlie, 15 seconds. See, the point is that I'm going to be explaining to you why comparatively our material deals with all that bullshit, right? How, like, even in the world, secession is even going to be made more easier, right? So just wait for it. So now, the point is very simple. Many Igbo people, like these guys claim, do not believe in the narrative of Biafra, right? The point is that those people in this debate can be considered to be the centrists. Those people who still believe that the Nigerian nation state is a cause that is worth fighting for. The point is that in your world, you make all those people live the different parts of the country where they're existing, and put them in one particular area, and they have to come to the southern side. The problem with that is that those people who are centrists and those people who still believe in the identity of the Nigerian state are forced to go to the extreme side, right? Because that belief in the Nigerian entity is one that is not utilitarian to them at that point in time, right? So they find it more preferable to stay along the lines of their own ethnic groups. That means that in the vast majority of circumstances, the national identity is going to be substituted, and the centrists themselves are going to be radicalized and forced to go to the extreme side. Why is this going to be the case? because the nationalism that is going to exist among those ethnic regions is going to be nationalism that is tailored towards the ethnic identities of those particular areas. So Nigerian nationalism cannot exist strictly sensu, but what is going to exist is Igbo Nigerian nationalism, Hausa Nigerian nationalism, and that dilutes the existence of the nation state, which these guys very much want to preserve, right? So ultimately, why is like the first part of this argument of our analysis very important? Because you have a united army ready. You have a group of people who now have very little differences existing in the same place. In their world, we have all Igbos all around Nigeria living in one place. Why is this crucial? Because there's a possibility that when secessionist groups want a particular thing and the policy fails, it makes it easier for them to want to secede out of the country because they are now together, they now have one cause, they are in one place. So the point is that we must understand that secession is easier. To the extent where their policy fails, those people can now easily leave the country. But to the extent where those people exist in different places, right, and are now identified along different lines, where we have like Igbo people believing in identities other than like the identities that were within their state, where we have Igbo people getting married to Hausa people and even buying into the Hausa, like the Hausa narrative. We think that it is more difficult for secession to happen in a particular instance than in your world where you have all of them congregating in one particular assembly. On nationalism, I've explained to you how in many instances we are all lazy, right? We all do not want to go the extra mile of identifying with people. The Igbo man doesn't necessarily want to identify with the Hausa man. The reason why we identify with people who are not immediately like us in terms of our ethnic groups is because of interaction. It's because of the fact that in Nigeria you have to just deal with Hausa people because you're going to meet them anywhere you go. The point is that in your world where you now make this, where you entrench ethnicity, you make interaction more difficult when you say Igbo people must work in Igbo land. So there's no incentive to look beyond the Igbo people around you to find Nigerians. So there's no incentive to consider the Hausa man as being somebody that is part of your own state. So you think that nationalism is going to be diluted and their state or their world is morally deplorable. On resources, right? What happens is that the problem is that resource allocation is very disproportionate, right? Particular parts have more resources than other parts. The point is that it's very simple. When you create these ethnic groups, these particular ethnic groups are more invested into their natural resources. They find it to be more crucial part of their identity immediately. But the point is that smaller ethnic groups are going to suffer because they do not have the same resources. The point is that you cannot collect those resources from them because those people are now willing to put up a challenge to their own resources because they do not believe that they're part of the national identity. We win this debate from closing opposition very clearly.
The House thanks the opposition whip and all the speakers in the debate.